Pounders, welcome back to Adjust the Ranks by myself and Billy Jones, who's joined with me, master of charts and visuals. First, we're going to be starting by talking about the ADP risers, the ADP fallers, and then he has some exciting charts that maps out the week 17 game stacks and where both teams go based on ADP, so you can sort of pre-plan. And these charts will be available on Billy's Twitter as well as in the Discord. Both are available in the description of the video. Billy, good morning. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. How are you doing? Like Sunday mornings, talking a little bit about drafting and stuff. This is great.
That's it. Got my coffee. I have my French toast sticks. There's no better place than now to talk some ball.
Yeah, I went for a run this morning, so I'm feeling like particularly on point today. We don't know. We'll see how the rest of the day goes after this. Just the drafts, but that's fine.
This next 50 minutes, though, is going to be full of good takes, and that is guaranteed. We'll start with the risers here, and at QB, you don't have a lot. Like there's not a ton of movement. Do you expect any of this to change with the playoffs coming out, or is it just going to be slow and steady until we get some major news?
It's a tough one. I feel like historically quarterback hasn't been the one to move. Like you have, especially underdogs, a pretty sharp market in terms of like staying in their lanes and willing to push quarterback. So I think that to have any notable movement is like, or any movement in upwards as a quarterback is relatively notable. So like seeing Dak continuing to progress up the board, I think that was like an initial misprice. Everyone says that was last year there's regression in the positive way that's coming, and then they got better offense, and it's kind of just moving in that direction. So I think that's noteworthy.
It's funny how one player changes Dak's ADP by it. Probably by the end of it will be around 20 plus picks. So he's, like you said, continuing to trend in a positive way. You just have more stacking partners for him now. So it's not just the Lamb team that's going after Dak. So now you have to battle with the Pickens squad and the sickos that want the Javonte stack. But Purdy up, it looks like just one pick. So there's not a whole lot after Dak's climb. Purdy, JJ McCarthy, Dart. I think Dart's interesting, and Chuck is now being drafted in the last round as well. Moving on to running backs, you got Will Shipley at the top of the board. Again, not a lot of movement here. We're talking about 6 picks in a round that all these players cost $1 if this was Dynasty. So the movement is very, very small. Man, you got a 0.1 movement from Bijan, which is 3rd on the list. That's interesting that we are at a spot where the schedule drops and the ADPs are already so sharp that we're not getting a ton of player movement. It's really a testament to people staying on track with ranks and content, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I think that you see a couple late round guys show up, but they're still like cheap to cheap, not really mean that huge. But it's also the season where running backs are going to fall. Like it's zero RB, the puppies come out, and it's just the wide receivers rise. So I just think that in total, you're going to see running backs kind of going down.
Right. Kamara, maybe people getting on the Kamara train here. Someone that goes a little earlier in the eliminator as well. All the RBs do though, so hard to get a real takeaway there. I like Kamara in the range he's in right now in BBM at the 62 spots. Pretty easy click for me. Tight ends, Evan Ingram, Chiggy, George Kittle up half a pick. Like it's half. Yeah, it's really the movement is negligible here. Evan Ingram trending up just a little bit. This probably has to do with the Colson Loveland injury news, where now Colson Loveland's falling back a little bit. I'm sure he'll be on the fallers list due to just the injury that he's not ready for rookie minicamp. So maybe him just switching spots with Colson Loveland here.
Yeah, I think also some level of like Chiefs is a fun stack as well. So it gives you like some ways to draft him. Um, so I think that that's kind of part of it as well. I think also if you look at the names here, like Kittle's in a dead zone of tight ends. I think that he's going to slowly push forward. Pitts has got I mean, went up at one pick, but that seems like a pretty good week 17 matchup. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. So, and then John is the inverse of like negative Tyreek. So I understand what's happening with all these guys.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Atlanta has Tampa Bay week 17.
I think it's the Rams, right?
Rams are also very juicy. Yeah, Johnny Smith. I wasn't clicking him that much in the big board in this spot, but it seems like now where some of these receivers aren't as juicy, like the rookie receivers, Luther Burden and Mika, don't seem as good of clicks. If you don't need QB in that range, receiver, you're looking at like Darnell Mooney, and some of the tight ends there are fine, but Jonnu is I'm finally getting to a little more Jonnu.
Yeah, for sure. And then this is where we actually see the movement.
Sorry.
You know what I'm saying? This next section, the wide receivers. I think there's two. Well, the Pat Bryant's moving up a good chunk, late round 15. So like very much drafted every single time. Slapping him on Kansas City Chiefs builds, kind of late bring back, and then Jameson Williams is like the guy I think that's has been so most impacted by the schedule. Now that you have like you want to draft Lions, you tack Jameson Williams on it. You want to draft Vikings, you tack Jameson. So there's three guys in the first round, each at different points of the first round, top of the first round, middle of the first round, late in the first round, fighting for this one guy in the fourth, fifth round. So
yeah,
I think you're going to still see helium on that.
It's kind of funny. Now you're getting an adjustment to DJ Moore where the market corrected for the addition of Luther Burden in the offense. DJ Moore falls to 42. Now he's up about a pick and a half. I have him ranked at 39. Anytime he falls to 39 or later, I feel like I have to click him. It's him and it's Tet right there. And I want to have a little more DJ Moore in that spot than Tet, but it's funny, again, a little market correction here. And is that because maybe people that aren't in tune with the content as much are coming back to Underdog, drafting the Best Ball Mania tournament for 2 million, trying to win the 2 million up top. And they're like, wow, DJ Moore goes in the 40s. Like, and they're maybe more excited than we are.
Yeah, I think it's like when the tournament first came out, it was based on big board, and the big board was kind of operating on the assumption that I didn't think they expect two pass catchers to come in, and maybe one. So by there being two, and like there's an automatic market correction, and maybe did go too far. I don't know, but we may have hit like a reasonable floor on how low DJ Moore, what it's projecting to be the wide receiver one on an offense that we like. Like I think that there is, I don't know how much lower he could go, but I think I'm with you in the sense like the Bears builds, you can draft them multiple different ways, and you can get 4 different pieces with the quarterback, and feel like you're kind of stacking up a mega team.
Currently going behind Worthy, McMillan, Travis Hunter. DJ Moore now catching up a little bit to the Travis Hunter ADP. I have him ranked one spot ahead of Tet. I might have him. Let me check the ranks here. I might have him ahead of Worthy as well. I do. So I have him one spot behind Tet, but I'm really balancing the two right now. Yeah, interesting that he's now starting to move up the board, but it seems correct. And I don't think it's a bad thing if you stopped drafting the Bears just to see where these guys were going to fall to, him, Rome, and now start to take them as they start to rise. This is the price you want to get him at, because it seems like he's not going any later. If he falls to ADP and you want, your 8%, which I would, of this Bears offense, this seems like a good spot.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good game too. This is 49ers.
Absolutely. Yeah. 49ers, I think I saw projected for one of the worst defenses this year.
Yeah, I haven't really looked into like this year's projections from like a defense perspective. It's tough this far
Oh,
out.
it's
So I see people like analyzing the betting market for week 16, 17, and like over. I'm like, pause quickly and be like, there's a lot that happened until we get there. So,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely. But the best ball sickos need something to fall back on,
Mhm.
especially the ones that are a little data centric, and it's all we have. It's all we have. But Pat Bryant, just to touch on this, you know who's getting a little more positive news than Pat Bryant is the running back here from the Coach Speak. But shout out to Greg at the Coach Speak Index. Really helps me with my ranks that I give out to you guys for the CSV rankings. Peyton said this about Pat Bryant. There are many things about Pat Bryant's game that reminded me of Michael Thomas. Very explosive off the line of scrimmage, very competitive, very tough. His size and his hands are outstanding. He's physical, and he's excelled in crunch time. Okay. Okay. Pretty pretty good. 10
That'll
picks ahead
do.
of ADP. This team obviously needs a wide receiver too to step up. Troy Franklin, he had some moments. Mims did great when he was on the field. We'll see if he continues to to increase his snaps this season for his ADP. He has to. But an exciting rookie click at the end of the board where you're hoping he gets that role by week 6, week 8, and he starts to heat up on the back half of the season.
Yeah, for sure. He's the classic, like, brilliant best ball pick that you just need to like get there, and he is rumbling at the end.
Exactly. Now he picks up for your dusty early vet pick that you made in round 4. JMO getting some positive coach speak from the new OC. Now people are a little more excited to draft JMO, it looks like. And I really do think this is based off the coach speak where he said, "Oh, I can't wait. Like JMO's going to have an amazing year." Is that's some exciting coach speak, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to see. Like I would put it to like stacking gravity, and like if it's both. It's you can't just
Mhm.
say one or the other.
Mhm.
It's people. He's positive coach speak, and they're saying, and it's like you people want to build that game, and he's the only logical way to do it out after the first round, or not the only way, but like when we'll talk about that. But you're gonna want
Love
to
it.
start your stacks with him. So,
I
um,
love it.
I
And
think
that's
it's
where
more people like getting competitive over the pick.
yeah, very true. And that's where like bringing in your charts at the end of the risers and fallers, you can see where these game stacks go and where people are grabbing the correlation, which is potentially affecting ADP like you said. All right. Let's pull up the fallers list. Mahomes down a few picks. You don't have a ton here at QB. Again, QB seems to be really flat. Um, really, really flat just to start BBM. We'll see if this changes in another week after we've had these playoff schedules out, but extremely flat at QB and running back here.
Yeah, the market as a whole didn't have a ton of movement um, with the schedule opening up, which kind of I don't know if that's surprising or not. Was it always that the schedule was opened came out while ADP was still like the Wild West, so therefore it was like compounding, whereas the ADP already got sharp, so this is really kind of just a little bit of micro movement. I think that's maybe it because I'm looking here. It's the only big name. There's only one real like major faller. It looks like on the board. There's a couple of receivers, but they're all late. Zay Flowers moving down, but like I don't know, not a ton of fallers here this week, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to see all 3 Browns here, even though, right, 1.5 picks, but by percent, all 3 of them make the list. Very, very funny to see all 3 running backs for the Browns here. But these are all negligible. Again, 6 picks at pick 200 is basically nothing. Bears Colson Loveland, I think it's due to the injury news, not being ready for rookie minicamp. Not too surprising. He'll most likely bump right back up if you get news that he's playing and he's healthy again. Likely still falling. Ferg, Henry
I
Sanders.
think Ferguson's like probably more like settling into the spot. He had quick push up, got a little bit of like, well, George Pickens is here. The million targets that we were assuming he was going to get might only be like 500,000 targets. But so now that's like like a good pick, or a fine pick, and people are just letting him kind of stick him at ADP rather than chasing it.
Well, I think maybe even more so than the targets. Like Pickens is a pretty good red zone target too, which we'll see. We'll see. But Jake Ferg in the 130s, 140s, it seems like a pretty easy click to me still. Tolbert takes the axe as he was the one that we're projecting probably for the most volume at wide receiver 2. He rose all the way to 170. So this is back-to-back weeks, him leading the charts on the fallers list. Are you taking him as a last round click this year with your Dak Prescott stacks?
I think that was something that's interesting is like if you draft Dallas and you want to backstack it, you could do is it him or Turpin is how you're going to do that, I guess, right? Jaden Blue is no longer, in my mind, a real like backstack. He's in like the fully drafted range. So if you're doing it, so I think you could do a lot worse than that. I think that if and when there's news about who the wide receiver 3 is on this team, I think that'll be great for us to kind of lean into because the running game does not look like it's going to be very good, and they just can drop back and chuck it 90 times a game, and I'm down for it.
And Dak's throw rate over expectation in the red zone is so high that dude likes to have the ball in his hands when he's in the red zone, and it's gonna be good for the pass catchers here. Tolbert, I agree. We're trying to maybe get a little coach speak before we go all in here on a pick like this. But if you're correlating him, if you need maybe a floor type guy to add in with your 4 rookies, Tolbert seems like a pretty good click. Zay Flowers, small faller. I'm actually surprised to see Ellick here, but he is. Keenan Allen still falling, and Shaheed falling a couple picks. Is Keenan Allen playing football this year? If so, if he lands on the worst team, let's say he lands back on the freaking, it wouldn't happen. He wouldn't land on the Bears. But if he did, his ADP would rise. Like any team you put him on, his ADP rises. So are people just waiting to see before they make the click? Should we be?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if he plays and you want Keenan Allen, the responsible thing is to draft him like now while he's at this range. But I think I don't know. There's not really a ton of information on this like whole situation that I'm aware of. Like he's either no longer good, and people just all across the league agree that he's kind of cooked, or he's being a little princess and is like, I don't want to practice. I'm going to sign really late, or I don't know what it is, but I just from like a cost perspective, we know free agents will rise immediately. So like, it doesn't matter if it's or it doesn't matter where he goes. Unless it's like he's like wide receiver. I don't even know what team would be buried on the depth chart far enough to where he wouldn't rise.
That's it. I mean, even on the Bears, he was one of the favorite targets last year. So, my God, if he ended up on the Patriots or one of these other teams that still has money and still needs help at wide receiver, like he would rise. So if you don't like clicking him now, you're going to hate clicking him later, is my guess.
Yeah. I wonder what his our last offseason he came in and it was like fat Keenan Allen. I wonder if it's like the same thing's happening right now. He walks in to try to sign the thing. They're like, nope, go out, get out.
The Keenan Allen news, like you said, is very little. I know one of the spots was after Pickens got moved. They're like, oh, Keenan Allen to Pittsburgh. It's like, yeah, he'd be he would soak up like 28% of the targets. So there's definitely some openings for Keenan Allen across the league that would probably bump him an easy 3 rounds plus. So we'll see what happens with him, but you can see drafters are still hesitant to take him falling every week a few picks. Shaheed is one that I think was a bet on Derek Carr too. Plus he's coming off the injury. Where are you at with Shaheed at pick 115? Is this where you're willing to take some shots on him?
He's like such a perfect profile for this game. That it's kind of like all he's got to do is like show up 3 or 4 times. And that really shows up on like 2 catches too. So I like the idea of Shaheed, and also in a range where like the receiving becomes a lot much more bleak. But that being said, like I've been drafting in a way that I'm not having to chase receiver in that range, so I haven't gotten to him much. I think in general the Saints are in total going to fall. They may have a new coach, Kellen Moore, we like, but I just don't think like that situation people are going to be running to draft it. So I think you could have patience on the Saints.
How about, because he goes in the same range, Shaheed versus Mims, who would you rather have?
I think I like Mims just because of the like Bo Nix aspect. We saw him and Bo Nix do it and light it up towards the end of the season, and I don't see a reason why that would stop. I mean, we're talking about a rookie that was like a mid-round pick that could maybe cut him to Mims, but I don't know. I think that like just look offense wise, I'm like I like Baltimore better as an offense. I like Denver better as an offense, like in total versus New Orleans. I think that's why I'm kind of tough. It's a tough click for me.
I think you're spot on. Once Shaheed goes behind these two guys, I think then it becomes a pretty easy and polarizing click where then it's Kyle Williams, then it's Jack Bash, then it's Christian Kirk, Hollywood Brown. The pick becomes a little easier, a little more polarizing when he falls behind here, but I admittedly have been pick blind so far to Shaheed. I'm glad to see him fall because I will get some shares if he gets to the right spot, and we're basically there right now. All right, let's pull up the. Do you want to do the passing stacks first and then game stacks?
We'll do game stacks. So it's the full thing. So yeah, what these charts are is and it's a lot. I mean, it's tough because this is every pick. But essentially, what I'm doing here is plotting out where the player goes and relative to ADP, and so it's like the full correlated stack and bring back here. And so I use this as a way to think through who I can like set up. So we'll use that first line as an example. That's the Bengals and the Cardinals. And so you can see here Jamar Chase is the 101 right at the top. And then you can see a cluster of players at that 2-3 turn. Trey McBride, T. Higgins, Marvin Harrison, Chase Brown, all that you could fit in there. So the way I like to use this is kind of, again, planning out my drafts, thinking through combinations that ADP would not let you have. So that in the next example would be the next line. So looking at the Eagles and the Bills, like there's Josh Allen, James Cook, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Hurts, all in like a round, little like a round and a half. You can't get 4 players in the matter of 1 round. So if you want to like figure out how to build some of these things, it allows for you to like figure out how you could move one player up or down. And you can't move them down the board. I would like to. Like, you can move maybe one player up on the board and set up something that ADP doesn't let you align. So I think it's a good way to kind of just understand what you're looking at.
Really helpful for mapping out. And this is another one of the advantages of Best Ball Overlay's combination tool, right? If you have Chase and T. Higgins, how many times have you paired those two with McBride? How many times have you paired those two with Marv? Being able to search that on the go, maybe you have 0 of one and 6 of the other with your Chase Higgins stacks. You probably want to balance that out a little bit. And being able to do that on the go is just such a huge advantage for your own portfolio. But yeah,
I'm
out.
pretty intentional with like I will sit down periodically and be like, okay, what have I drafted and what are things I want to have? Like combos that I want a Chase and I want Arizona bring back. I want a Jamar Chase Brown with some Arizona bring back. I want to make sure these things are in my portfolio. And so the best ball overlay tool just is so great for like you do that on the fly and then check it back to this plan that you've already kind of put together.
Absolutely. You guys can get that bestballoverlay.com, promo code Pounders, all caps, 25% off. The biggest edge in best ball for your own portfolios. But mapping out the Eagles and Buffalo, like you said, yeah, we would like get these players to fall. You can get like the Eagles super stack, but mixing in Barkley, AJ Brown, you can get Josh Allen. Are you doing maybe AJ Brown plus James Cook and Jalen Hurts?
I think that I was like, okay, so doing this live, what are some of the angles to like attack these, or like combos to figure out, and that's one where I like, how do I get a James Cook build on the opposite side of the Bills, right? I think that would be the interesting leverage there, because people are going to try to draft Josh Allen with his receivers, but can I build a Eagles kind of passing game? AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts with a James Cook on the opposite side. I don't think anyone's going to have that combo, or very limited.
I think it'll obviously be easier if we get James Cook to fall too. If he does threaten to hold out and people get afraid, it will be a little easier to get. I think a little closer to the start of training camp if that continues to be the narrative. However, yeah, and Josh Allen and James Cook, it's almost like the best stack for Josh Allen because these receivers, dude, he just spreads the ball enough that it hasn't made a difference in the past.
Yeah, for sure. And then the next game the next game is really interesting too on how you want to stack that one up. So this is your Vikings-Lions game. You have 3 of them go in the first round, Jefferson, Gibbs, and St. Brown. So you're really not getting like a premium build unless someone is doing something stupid and Amon-Ra comes back down the board. I mean, I've seen some screenshots, but I don't think that's going to see much Gibbs Amon-Ra builds.
I've seen Gibbs Amon-Ra a couple times in the big board and not since.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be available. If you do, let me see if I can invest. Can we split that team? Like, come here. I'll pay for it after you do it. But then, so you start. Okay, so you have this like really premium pieces in the first round, and then what do you do about it afterwards? You got to bring back Jameson Williams or Jordan Addison. I think those kind of fit, and then you got Sam Laporta, David Montgomery, Aaron Jones, and TJ Hawkinson. So it's like a running back, receiver, tight end, running back, tight end. There's a couple ways in there to build it. This is one where I'm thinking if I could find a way to move a guy up one round to make something happen, I think it would be nice just because we're not moving people up in the first or second round. You'd be taking someone out of like the 4th round or 5th round and kind of adjusting. So how do I play that like rounds, the picks 48 through 84 players on that? I'm really interested in kind of coming up with a good combo.
Right. If you start with Jefferson, going JMO, and then seeing where that falls in line with Addison, and if you still want like a double bring back, like this is one of those games that you can double stack. Yeah, this is interesting. There's so many pieces and they all go within pick 120. I see how you've put 0 respect on Ty Felton's name. We'll have that conversation later for Ty Felton. But Tesla,
he didn't meet the filter. The minimum pick ADP 210.
He's coming. Yeah, very, very freaking. This is one of those games that just makes you freaking salivate at the mouth here. But while
And I
those
think the
pieces go,
angle might be like Justin Jefferson, JMO, Laporta, and Aaron Jones. I think that's a pretty big, like, if you're gonna mega build that game and I get one of the quarterbacks, like, I could see that really working, or slot in Amon Ra and take out Laporta and go Hawkinson. I don't know. There's just so many permutations that could work.
yeah. And again, you don't know, especially when you're drafting hundreds of teams, what combinations you have, and just staying on top of that's so big. But next we have Bijan, Puka, both going in the first round. You're not getting that double. Drake London with Puka is a very, very easy way to get some week 17 correlation through 2 rounds.
Yeah, I think the Puka London, Devontae Adams, or Kyron is going to be chalk. Like that it lines up cleanly now. It's a 3 receiver start, or and then if there's going to be a world where Kyron will slide into the 4th for some of those people, and that one you'll see that build too. So we every year see a couple just completely line up perfectly, and this is one of those on the top of the board.
I'm gonna have to check how many stacks we have there between Puka and Drake London in the big board. CD Lamb, Terry McLaurin. We can let's put some respect on these late guys' names. Mooney's here, Algier, and you have a ton of late pieces with the Rams with Tutu, Terrence Ferguson, Jarquez Hunter.
This is the game, like 2 late quarterbacks, that if you're looking for a 3 quarterback build, this is one of those games you want to target.
Absolutely. Staffy goes in and I was talking about this on yesterday's stream. He's like so disrespected where his ADP is for his low bench risk. It's even if his ceiling's not crazy high, with his bench risk being so low, he becomes a really good value at QB.
Especially with our assumption around the receivers. Like, he's got 2 guys going around, one around 1, one around 3. Like, we expect them to be very good, and he's going to feed them the ball. That A plus B does not equal C in that formula.
Right. Yeah. And do drafters think that Devontae Adams is basically as dusty as Kupp was last year? He was definitely serviceable last year, Devontae Adams, so it should be an upgrade for Staffy, no doubt. And you also have Higbee somewhere in that mess there too with Blake Corum. A lot of late options for the Rams. What are your thoughts on Mooney? Sort of goes in this like wide receiver. If you don't grab one here, it's like you go to that Shaheed Mims range, Bateman for your next 3. Is he a panic pick? Do you think he's worth this pick as the wide receiver 2 on Atlanta?
I think in general, we don't want to be chasing guys coming after their like pinnacle season. And I think it's hard to say that he didn't have like the best version of himself last year. Are they just kind of running it back with the same role, pretty much the same offense with a slightly better quarterback situation, it seems like. Yeah. So I think that it's hard to argue that he can't just like replicate it again. But I just acknowledge that you are buying high at today because what we saw last year. I do think one thing that I'm curious, like if this actually is this me or like this me just thinking it's true or not, but like the fact they went from a right-handed quarterback to a left-handed quarterback at the end of the season, like is that actually now a benefit that they're going to have a left-handed quarterback the whole season and kind of build it rather than flip it? I don't know, but I think that Darnell Mooney is you just kind of got to expect maybe a little regression from last year. I don't think much more is in the bag.
The right-handed quarterback versus left-handed quarterback chart will be coming to you next Sunday.
Yeah, sample size of 2.
Yeah, that's it. It satisfies the elements for this show. Perfect. All right, Dallas versus Washington, another juicy matchup. These week 17 games are crazy. It's just like pick one and stack it. Like they're all exciting. Lamb, Terry McLaurin, Jane Daniels. It looks like you can get this. Now it requires Jaden Daniels to fall back to you as the Terry drafter, which I've seen a little more as of late. But now Terry's starting to get a boost after the NFL draft, after they don't add anyone. I didn't see him on the risers, but I'm willing to move him up a couple picks to put him in line with CD Lamb, which he might fall pretty close anyways.
Yeah, he may have some stacking gravity upwards as over the next couple of weeks as people try to set that up. I do think, I mean, as you said, like we're moving down the line here, and there really isn't a game that I'm like, yeah, I'm out on that one yet. So maybe because we haven't got to the right side of the chart where the teams are less inspiring. But this is a pretty good one too. You can get volume monster, CeeDee Lamb, the touchdown guy for Jaden Daniels. You can bring it back with either Pickens or Debo. And then like you have, if you missed on Jaden Daniels, you can get Dak Prescott later. So like you have ways and then outs as a part of building this too, which is really nice. Comparatively to like the game before this, if you're planning for a late quarterback and then both of them go, you're like,
Yeah.
This is like a completely different range of the draft that you can like pivot to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, still a good game for minis, but Eckler, Ertz, super late with Lane. Man, well, I mean, like, I guess we'll sort of see here. This game looks pretty juicy on both sides, though. With Dallas not expected to have the best defense this year, too. This looks like a blow up game for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, we'll move over to the Giants versus Vegas Raiders. With Neighbors, Genty, and Bowers all pairing really close together, you're going to see a lot of Neighbors and Bowers, I would expect here.
I agree. I think that's going to be a chalkish build as well. Two guys that were rookies and studs last year, got a ton of targets, and I could see people also wanting to start like Genty Bowers. It's not as fun. You're also kind of really behind the eight ball for like wide receiver in that sense. But I think the dream would be to get a Genty Neighbors, but I don't think that you're going to be provided that opportunity, unfortunately.
No, I'll take that. I'll take that right now. Now, the big board, you probably did sneak a couple of those in if you were drafting Genty, and you're very excited about that. But right now, not really an option. Will it happen? I'm sure it will. I'm sure a few people will get the Genty Neighbors, but I'll just take the right room to be fading year one Genty, and maybe that happens with the people returning to fantasy football talk. Next piece is Myers. In the 70s, Cam Scat, Tracy going next to each other still is kind of funny. Just waiting on coach speak, it looks like. The crowd at large. Besh, Wandale, Gino, who I think is the last QB on the board that's like the bench risk is extremely low for his price. Darius Slayton, and then Dart. Definitely, there's a lot of ways to play this one, right? You can go on the ground with Genty and say Cam Scat, and you could play from either side too. Like you could play it with Gino too, with Myers or Besh with Genty.
Yeah, this is also in Vegas, so I could see this being in a dome. Like, I could see this being like neither of these offenses are great all season, but they have a great week 17, like ugly matchup. Neither of them are competing for anything. They score 40 points each.
We saw a couple ugly games get there last year and the year prior. I think the year prior was that like tornado game basically with Cleveland. Was it Cleveland Jets, I think? So we've seen these ugly matchups like absolutely hit in a big way. where they look uninspiring at first, and then you quickly learn. All right, the next one is the Chargers against Houston. Another one that seems pretty spicy. Nico Collins, Ladd, Marin Hampton, Mixon. Now this, by the time that the Chargers are here, and we'll see, but Harbaugh maybe playing a little slow with Hampton and Najee as his two RBs, running the clock out. I could see this one playing maybe a little slower than we're hoping. But Nico,
Yeah, for sure. I could
Mixon,
see this like the play count, as you said, being lower in this game than would be ideal. I could also see a situation if you're like looking into the future of 8 Battle Royale ADPs, week 17, then Amari and Hampton could be a like first round, second round pick, if depending on how it kind of lines up in the slate and stuff. So I like that this is, I mean, is another build where I think we're going to see a lot of combos of Nico Ladd, Nico late first, you pull Ladd from the middle of the second to the first at the top of the second and line it up, call it a day, build it with that duo as like a little skinny, like you don't bring the quarterbacks, or you could
yeah,
build it on one of the quarterbacks that are later and a bit cheaper. And or then you can do the like I could see a running back double tap too, like working as well. So yeah, fun game to build.
just because of the spacing too, it's a little easier. Like you said, you can go Nico Ladd and then grab one of these running backs pretty easily. And
Then
then you
pick your favorite like rookie receiver.
that's it.
Get the quarterback.
Now, I do think this is one of those that I wouldn't be planning on the double stack at receiver hitting, but it's so far out. Obviously, you can't guarantee that. I would just feel better about maybe +1 receiver and a running back. Doesn't mean you're not going to double stack these teams because they might get you in on week 16, week 15, etc. to push you on. But this is just such an easy game slate to attack just due to the spacing.
Yeah, I really like the idea of Nico Ladd, and then moving on to a game that we're going to talk about in a second. That's that 49ers Bears game. Getting them like having that be your quarterbacks and like just isolating those two like premium receivers and moving on to another situation.
Yeah, it falls perfectly right in that gap too. All right, BTJ and JT with Indy versus the Jags, week 17. Yeah, so JT, you could bring him up the board. I don't think there's, I don't think that's getting too fancy. You're probably skipping ahead of what, two running backs, Achane and Derrick Henry. Am I missing someone? I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like it does feel a little fancy because you're doing it in the second round. But they definitely don't sit on they sit on the complete opposite sides of the board. So like, in terms of like combinatorial ownership, I don't think you're going to see much people do it.
Right. I don't know what percent of people would actually do that. So does that make it more appetizing? Are you more willing to do that in the puppy? I don't know, but I'll have at least a few of these because you are flipping the board. You're putting JT on the right side. You're only flipping him ahead of two RBs. Who's to say he doesn't belong there anyways? So that's an easy way to get correlation and potentially be lower owned.
Yeah, move him over Achane, move him over Derrick Henry, maybe even move him over Christian McCaffrey. All of those are very reasonable.
Travis Hunter, and then a wide gap for Downs, Pittman, and then they start to go in the same range. You have a couple of the same team running backs between Tootin and ETN. You have Tyler Warren in the mix here. But yeah, you can get different pieces of this game all over the board. Sort of trickled mostly on the back half after the first 3 picks, though.
Yeah, I think this is like I can get the thesis if someone told me why this is like the right stack to build. Okay, you're Liam Cohen, that's why you're picking the Jags. And then you're gonna pick some version of a player on the Colts because they have a pick, they play in a dome. Like, I get it. It's a pretty easy thesis to kind of build around.
Yeah, Alec Pierce and AD going late too as just like shots in the dark, spike week type players. Who says no with your Jags stack? Seems like a pretty fun way to play it, and we expect Tootin to be at least exciting with whatever amount of carries he's going to be getting. So maybe like a pseudo Achan minus the elite speed. Still fast, but CMC and DJ Moore top the next matchup with San Fran versus Chicago. San Fran not expected to have the defense it has had in years past. Potentially going to be a bottom 3 unit expected this season, so we'll see if that ends up being the case. But oh my, most of these pieces going in the first 110 picks, and each team has 3 wide receivers in this range.
It's unreal, like how consolidated this is. So it's like just DJ Moore, George Kittle, Rome Odunze, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk, DeAndre Swift,
Both
Caleb
running backs,
Williams,
yeah.
Brock Purdy, Colson Loveland. Like they all are right there. There's no way you build it all, the full thing. It's impossible unless you start in round 1.
But you also don't want the full thing, right? Like what's the maximum amount of pieces that you can get versus what would you even want, right? If you start with CMC and you bring in DJ Moore, are you, first off, which way are you playing it, right? You can bring in Kittle. That's the thing. Like you can go the running back, the tight end on San Fran, and a receiver and Purdy, and it's smash. There's enough room there for all of that. But are you going double receiver with CMC? Yeah, that could just be fine if it's, as long as it's a Kittle blocking game. It should work out fine. But how many pieces are basically too many for you in a BBM tournament?
Yeah, it's like then I don't know. I haven't really done a bunch of deep thought on this, but my initial reaction on like how I'd want to play this is do a Bears double. So you're gonna Caleb with pick 2 out of 3 of your receivers.
Mhm.
And then you're gonna have a bring back of either CMC or George Kittle. Like I feel like in like a maximum potential outcome, like what you can like you consolidate 2 touchdowns for either CMC or Kittle, and then you get 4 touchdowns through 2 receivers, or 3 touchdowns through 2 receivers, and Caleb Williams runs one other one. Like I see, like I just clearly see how it happens.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna be building a lot of that.
And I like that, playing it through the onesie too, giving you that advantage at tight end. If Kittle is the guy who scores even that 1 touchdown game at tight end and gets you 70 yards and 5 catches, like that's enough to be tight end 1 potentially on the slate. So I do like playing it through the advantage at the onesie position too, like you did there. But yeah, Bears +2 or San Fran +2, pretty easily able to project that hitting. It's just which of the 5 pieces on each team is going to hit. That's the tricky part. All right, Lamar with Baltimore and Green Bay. And Derrick Henry, Jacobs, Lamar, Zay Flowers. First off, are you going to have any Derrick Henry plus Lamar teams?
No, probably not a ton. I mean, like I really am hunting for the Lamar plus Zay Flowers teams. Like that's not really a thing right now. What's I think is really interesting, like Henry and Jacobs are around apart, and Lamar, and then Zay Flowers. So it's like getting that full build isn't really a thing that you're gonna
Mm.
see. Um, I would love to see some uh, Lamar Zay with Jacobs on the very back or something like that, but they just don't align that way. So I don't
Mhm.
know how to properly build this right now.
Yeah, yeah, it's especially with how much Green Bay leans into the run at the end of the season in crunch time, especially if it either playoff seeding or to get into the playoffs, whatever their situation will be, they tend to just lean in on the RB1 even more so on the back end of the season. Now, if they're in a comfy spot, which I doubt they will be, they would maybe give Jacobs more of a rest towards the end of the season. I don't think that's going to be the case. However, Lamar
Well, I
Zay,
think the hope also is that this game blows up. If this game blows up, you probably want Lamar with some pass catchers. Andrews, Bateman, likely. Then you bring it back, or the flip side of that. I don't. If you're building Lamar, it's like, do you have to have Golden or Reed to kind of like chase? Maybe.
yeah, if you're hoping, I mean that's if you think it's going to be one sided or if it's going to be back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you could very easily get there on a Lamar double with one of the tight ends. I probably like that the best. Lamar plus one receiver and a tight end. He still gets his rushing touchdown. Each piece gets a tutty. And then a bring back of your choice. Could it be a double stack? It could. Like it realistically, you could have uh, Matthew Golden plus one in Reed,
Yeah.
or one of these late guys if it's Dobbs or Wicks. If one of them gets moved, the other one becomes a little more attractive in that situation, especially. But it's also hard to get Golden and Reed here too. But could you do that, Lamar and Zay, and then just double tap the Green Bay receivers? But Lamar still gets there, even though Love has a big game. Lamar gets there, scores more points with the advantage he has with the run game.
Yeah, it's like you could do pick one of two, Golden or Reed, and then you bring the Tucker Craft into that situation. That
Hmm.
that could potentially
That
work
too.
as well. Yeah.
That too. I love stacking Lamar with either Andrews or even Likely, just because of that touchdown equity, and he likes those guys in the red zone. Also important at half point PPR, but I don't mind the Craft. Craft's going to start rising too. He's someone that's going to sneakily start trickling up the board now. All right, this one's crazy. I think this one could be pretty crazy. You have Miami versus Tampa Bay. Tua, good news. It's going to be warm week 17. That's that there alone is like, okay, the Miami pieces are not dead. That's good to know.
They
Um,
literally don't. They sleep at home, go the next day, kind of deal. That's both for either of these teams. I think this is like you got 3 player or 4 players in like 2 rounds, and I could see any version of those 2 of those 4 players being a part of the nuts for that week. So I think that it could be an irrelevant game, especially if like Tyreek is not himself anymore. Mike
mhm.
Evans is he starts the age cliff starts to finally hit him, but I could that how you combine those couple players could tell the whole story too.
Easily, you could easily seeing that be the case. Or, like you said, Mike Evans struggling to get 1,000 yards at the end of the season, but maybe not due to injury when he missed 4 games last year. Tyreek Hill is just like probably the biggest question mark in the first 3 rounds of like, is he going to smash this spot or is he going to be worth like, should he have been going in round 6? It's like we don't have a ton of confidence right now. Just mixing him in when he falls, I think makes the most sense. But here, maybe correlating it in, will he get tied to the 2-3 turn with Bucky more so now that we know the playoff matchup week that could keep his ADP from falling. Now he might get a little rise from that.
Yeah, I think when you look at the way that this kind of lined up here, the hope was that he would have fallen to like the 3-4 turn, and then you could maybe sneak in an Evans, Tyreek Hill, and then maybe Achan in round 2, and then that's an exciting build. but Buggy Irving might keep him at the 2-3 turn a bit longer because of the way that you'd want to build that out, and then you bring back Waddle or at a later point in the draft.
Waddle, who's known for his penguin touchdown dance, also not known for the cold weather. For those two don't correlate too well, but yeah, the fact that this one going to be in Tampa Bay or Miami? It doesn't even really matter. It's in Miami. Like it seems wheels up. Godwin, even towards the end of the season, you're hoping that he's firing on all cylinders. Amika, same thing. Tampa Bay has come out and said that they want to run a little more of like just throwing in these wide receivers, giving other guys a break. We already know Mike Evans. He's like a 70% snap player. Godwin going to be coming off the injury as well as just a little older this season. Amika's going to be in the mix. Jalen McMillan, he can't be completely dead. And they run a fair amount of 3 wide receiver sets too. So there's going to be a mix of all these guys. If you get to the finals with Amika, you're probably pretty excited for this game as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, Baker doubles and smashed historically, and this has got this like everything to it, like the premium bringbacks. You got on both sides of the situation. Like I don't know. I was excited about drafting the Dolphins just because how cheap they were this year, and this situation does not help that.
yeah. This is just going to continue that addiction here. You could see any of these pieces having a relatively big spike week.
And like Kate Otten is boring, and to bring on Jonnu Smith on the flip side of that, like really, I feel like helps out. Like my thought around like, oh, you got Baker, you pick 2 receivers, and you bring Jonnu on the flip side of that. That feels a little more juicy than a Kate Otten kind of attacking him on the end.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy when Miami brings in Keenan Allen. No, I'm just kidding. However, we're not drafting a wide receiver 3 right now for Miami, assuming I think everyone says that's basically it's HN, it's Jonnu Smith. There are plenty of pass catchers in this offense. That's why you're not seeing a wide receiver 3 get drafted that often. Are you mixing in Nick Westbrook-Ikhine in sort of at least red zone threat in Tennessee, or are you making a bet on Malik Washington, waiting on Coach Speed? But what are your thoughts there with if you have Tua and you only have a single stack?
I mean, you nailed it. Like they don't really use a wide receiver 3. Like it's the same coach, it's the same system, it's the same personnel. They have not used a wide receiver 3. I can't. So I just don't. No, I'm not drafting another one. I'm just being intentional about the Tua teams. It's tough though because with Tua, you are like, no one should be drafting Tua unstacked. Like it's just irresponsible to do, but people do it all the time. So it's like I tack a couple Dolphins on the roster. I'm like, okay, Tua should be mine. I'm going to let him come to me at or after ADP, and then I let him fall 1 pick past ADP or 1 pick after me, and he gets snapped up by someone who wasn't drafting Dolphins, and I'm just like shake my head in disappointment. But so it's also like right at the end of the draft where you're like, okay, I don't really have. You go from like a guy who like, I'm going to double stack the Dolphins, and I'm going to really build around the fact that Tua's like over 4,000 yards again. And then there's no other option afterwards. So it's like this like really like scary type of situation when you do it, and then you're like, you're gonna have to scramble to figure out quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. You're past the point of like, okay, it's panic backstack time, which is never fun.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Pats versus Jets. Obviously, I mean, we've seen more exciting matchups than this one so far, but can you still get usable pieces from this game? Absolutely. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, the first 2 off the board, followed by Travion Henderson and Diggs. So a little more spaced out. with this one, a little easier to find your mini stacks, your stacks, and your bringbacks rounds 1 through 16, 17, where Douglas goes.
Yeah, I don't think you have to like game stack it. Stack each individual team. It's nice both of these teams kind of start a little bit cheaper. I mean, Garrett Wilson goes in the 3rd round, Brees Hall in the 4th round, but there's the Patriots. You don't have to start by drafting a player until like 6th round essentially. So it's nice to like open up a game when you kind of think about this one as you're getting more optionality to quarterbacks you can draft. I do think from like if I'm trying to predict out until like what it's going to look like in week 17, I would expect this to be a lower total. Like Justin Fields led offense is going to run. Drake May, I mean, we're excited about him, but he's also going to be a 2nd-year quarterback. And Vrabel likes to run the football. Like I could see this just not being the go nuclear kind of game. But on the flip side, we're really bad at predicting that. So it's okay. I'll put Justin Field goes for a bunch of yards. Drake May sprays it around. Like that's fine too.
You're not wrong that this is the game where you just look at it and you're like, I don't think a double stack plus two opposing players like running back and receiver gets there, but we have no idea. This very well could be the game you need. It just with the other games that are so exciting, it's just not as exciting as those. Let's put it that way. But very easy to stack, like you said. They're spread out round 3, round 4, round 6, round 7 with Diggs. Both QBs you can get very easily. Kyle Williams, we'll see where his ADP is going to go based on coach speak and how training camp goes. And then a couple late tight ends, RB2 with Brandon Allen. It's you can very easily get pieces from this game and not be crushed either way. Like if you super stack this game, how much is it going to hurt you? You still have a 1st round pick, a 2nd round pick, a 5th round
That's
pick.
The thing is,
like
it's cheap. Like to super stack this game, you're not having to give up much, and you're still able to get to other positions. Whereas like to make a super stack on that Bears 49ers game, you are giving up value to pull that off. Yes, I get that you are doing something that other people will not have in their bag, but you're giving up straight up ADP value, and we know we don't want to do that. So that's how I guess a nice benefit here is you can build a team, have a couple high end picks, and then still have this kind of full game.
Exactly. All right. The Seattle Seahawks versus the Carolina Panthers. Jason Tet as the first 2 off the board, followed by Chuba and K-Walk, who go very close to each other. Both QBs go after pick 150. So another easy game to sort of plot out and just get little mini stacks and then decide if you want to go that way with the QB. Yeah, pretty spread out here.
Yeah, this is another one where I'm like, we talked about how you do Nico Ladd and just ignore the quarterbacks, and then you just take the 2 premium pieces and you move on. That could be the same conversation here. You take JSN, you take T-Mac, and then you move on. All right, like you could get in Chuba, you get Kenneth Walker. Like, I don't think you need to like go nuts on these games. I mean, you could. I could see it working. I think I'm really interested. I'm not drafting Cooper Kupp right now. I think that he is. I think I'm probably as fast as him. That's obviously not it. Like, I just don't think that he's got the juice in. I don't think I was never fast, Pat. So like, but I'm just more saying I don't know if he still has the juice anymore. But I could just see like you play the 2 guys up at the top. They in round 3 and round 4. They own all of the targets, and the rest of the game is harder to build around. But they're cheaper too. It's kind of similar conversation to what we just had with the Pats and Jets game.
Yeah. You could play it on the ground, play it through the air. Then depending, I mean, Bryce Young seems like the ultimate. Oh, I need a quarterback stack because all my players, all my receivers, QBs got sniped or whatever the case was. You're staring at Mr. Young plus like Adam Thielen or Leggett, Coker. He's that he's the panic quarterback pick. Maybe you happen to have JSN on that team or K-Walk, so now it's a little more palatable to do as well. Are you bringing in a Jatavian Sanders?
Yeah, when I'm drafting Bryce Young, I definitely click on him. I've done it a couple times. I mean, the Panthers were not good on defense last year, and Sam Darnold has struggled against good defenses. So does that mean that he's going to not struggle? Is he going to bring his best self to this game, and we're going to see like him support like the Seahawks going nuts? Does that mean that he's already lost it, and Jalen Milroe comes in against like a softball kind of defense, and he goes nuts?
Right.
I don't know. Like, I think that this is an interesting game just because, like, the Panthers are anemic on defense, so or were, and that might be attackable.
And it's funny because the Seahawks, another team where maybe this isn't even deservedly so, it's more so we don't have the coach speak to back it. We're only drafting 2 receivers here. So either Elijah Aurora is going to come on and they're going to play a little more 12 with 2 tight ends, or you're going to see Torrey Horton start to rise up into the 18th, 17th pretty soon based on coach speak. I'm not sure which one it's going to be, but we will be drafting a wide receiver 3 on the Seattle team. Not 100% sure when, but especially if you're off of Cooper Kupp, we got to move someone in that spot, right? It's not going to just be the JSN show. Who is it going to be? This is one of those teams I think there's some sneaky value if you can find that piece early. Maybe it's just based on a couple blurbs from Coach Speak.
Yeah, for sure. It's like because we don't know what Cooper Kupp's got anymore. There's gonna be some level of opportunity there. Right now, it's like play the premium plays and move on. But it seems like there's other opportunities to be had on these teams.
It's Jake Bobo. It was always Jake Bobo. It's Jake Bobo. KC versus Denver. This is one that's like, oh wow, like we get all giddy about the KC matchups because of what they were 3 years ago. However, they've slowed way down. The explosive play rate is way down. The defense is way better. Those games are not as exciting. People still get excited. This is one of those that it could be, but both defenses are good. It doesn't mean I'm not going to want to game stack it, but knowing that it's not that absolute smash where we're going, Mahomes double stack, double bring back and expecting to print money. The first 2 off the board are Rice and Worthy. So you are getting your first in round 3 with Rice, who is quickly rising. As of late, he's slowed down a little bit, but a little more positive coach speak, and this dude's going at the 2-3 turn. So Rice, Worthy, Sutton, Harvey, what are your thoughts on this game, and what are the pieces that stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first game to have been released for Week 17, so there's obviously a little bit of excitement around that. And that has its brand name, too. You've got Chiefs, Mahomes, and then a plethora of pass catchers that are all, like, brand name. And then you got Bo Nix, who was a major part of the fantasy playoffs last year. And they had the brand name running back, like rookie running back play for the year. So it's just kind of like it feels exciting, but when you actually understand the situation, you're like, okay, as you said, Chiefs defense is now legit. The Denver defense, especially the secondary, is going to be a problem. And if that's the case, like you're not trying to build around this game. So it's like this tough push pull between like 2 offenses we like in general, and but then also a situation for a game that we're like skeptical.
Definitely.
And the condensed is the same issue as some of the other games where it's like condensed. So if you're gonna really want to build say you want to do a mega build of this game, you have to kind of manipulate ADP it's just not as clean as you would hope.
Yeah, I agree there, especially with Rice going up in price. Denver really doesn't add anyone. They add Pat Bryant, but Sutton was falling at first. Now he's staying pretty still. If not, people are more willing to click him now at ADP. I know I am after the NFL draft and not seeing them add a major piece that is a threat to his workload or even his targets. Ingram comes in and he could just be the tight end piece that you need, and they just play this game underneath, and Mims just runs a ton of cardio. But I agree that I want pieces of KC this year because of the discounted price. I think it's a good year to go back in on Mahomes. Rice, you're getting a discount. We'll see. Everything's trending positive with the injury news, which is leading to his rise. If you continue to get that news, he's only going to rise more. Do we get setback news, though? That would obviously, we don't know. That would have him fall back to back into the 30s, 40s, potentially on the news. Or the Sutton, Harvey got juiced up in like the first week. So it's really hard to it's really hard to find any plus EV ADP value there now with
And I don't
Harvey.
want to like forecast like we play weatherman this far out, but we're talking about this game is on Christmas night, so 8:15 in Kansas City. Like it's gonna that's gonna be cold.
yeah. Yeah.
And the only thing I can't wait to hear this narrative. I haven't heard anyone say it yet, but like this is definitely a Taylor Swift game. Like a Christmas night, Taylor Swift's going to be there on prime time. Like Travis Kelsey's going to have 2 touchdowns and do the arrow up to her. I want to, that narrative's coming.
Kelsey might be in the box watching the game with Taylor Swift from above at this point in the season. We'll see. The dude's got to, you would think he would regress positively with touchdowns, but this is 2 years in a row where he's been at 5 and 4. Is this just Kelsey? I'm willing to find out now in the hundreds. The last 2 years, combined ownership of 1% Kelsey. I'm willing to at least mix in this 5 to 8% Kelsey at this price because I also want to be in on Mahomes in the 80s. But yeah, the super stack here seems a little tougher. Doesn't mean I don't want pieces though from this game. Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. Maybe
the next 2 games are ugly
on the slate. Maybe the grossest game on the slate. DK Judy, Quinshon, Caleb Johnson, you're hoping has the majority of workload by the end of the season over Warren. Although Warren getting that positive coach speak recently, he's going to be the starter. He's the veteran. That's the right thing to do as a coach. The rookie has to come in and earn it. That's how you light a fire. Like this shouldn't be a surprise, but he's going to rise in ADP because of it. Joku Tillman, who's like my favorite click, and Pat Fry, and some of these. I mean, we have 3 Cleveland Browns running backs here still.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said this is like who's going to be the quarterback? I mean, give me the quarterback pairing, not just one for one team. Like you could accurately predict the quarterbacks on both sides of this game. Like you are sharper than I. But I just think it's a tough one. I mean, DK Metcalf looks like to have a clear runway but no one really throwing the ball. Jerry Jeudy, repeat that exact same argument. Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson are rookie running backs, which we're excited about, but on bad offenses. Jaylen Warren, you just mentioned. I think that player that I'm interested in is like Firemouth, just because of the potential like volume he could run into. But this one might be it's a no in total because of the conversation we just had. This game is going to fall.
Yeah. Pat Fry is the second drafted pass catcher on this team. He goes in the 160s. This is why you saw him fly up about 20 picks since the contest has opened, and he's continuing to rise until we find out who's going to be catching balls. But the problem is what's keeping him from rising. You touched on it. Who's playing quarterback? Aaron Rodgers, much less likely to go to Pittsburgh after they giveaway Pickens. That's why he gets a little Keenan Allen buzz here. Is a lot of open targets in Pittsburgh right now.
And I think you would have seen Firemouth and DK move up, or anyone on this Steelers move up if they were playing an opponent with a reasonable quarterback in a situation that you want to build. Just be like,
Right.
okay, I'm going to build that team. I'm going to take one of these players on the opposite side, and then I'm moving on. There's like, you don't want to build either side of the situation, so you're not going. No one's chasing to build this game, and therefore, I think you're going to have them all move down.
I agree. And on to the last team, New Orleans versus Tennessee. Ridley, Kamara, Olave, Pollard, spread out pieces, very easy to stack right now. And I do like a few of these pieces on these teams. Could it be the sneaky game that you need a double stack bring back of Shaheed week 17? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Cam Ward's absolutely rumbling at that point. You have one of a player or two from the Saints chase. Like Cam Ward's able to support a couple pass catchers. I could see Tony Pollard consolidating the role like he did last year. Maybe Tony Pollard goes down and like just Spears gets it all then. Like there's definitely this kind of situation seems a lot more like there's a lot more outs to this being relevant than the game directly before it.
I agree. I 100% agree. You could at least in both of these offenses a little more condensed. Cleveland, that game's like you know they're going to want to run the ball. You know Pittsburgh's going to want to run the ball. Here, you could see a pretty healthy mix of both, so it makes it a little more open to the pass catchers in this spot, and you get a ton of Tennessee pass catchers that go at the end of the draft too, that are basically just free pieces. Saints versus Titans. It could just be a game that should be relatively close and spread too. So it's interesting.
This is
I
like a
don't know.
nice back stack, right? Like you got
And it won't
your
cost
final
you much too
quarterback
to
piece.
super stack.
Yeah, it's like your final quarterback piece that you're taking. You're taking a rookie, and the expectation is they have the keys the whole season. You pick someone who's cheap to stack them with, and then you move on. Like you don't feel like you dropped anything, and yeah.
The Shaheed, Tyler Shuck. We got to add Juwan Jennings here. Oh, not Juwan Jennings, Juwan Johnson at tight end, who goes undrafted pretty often in these drafts. So there's cheap pieces on both of these teams. I think some of these pieces could also be pretty good advance rate pieces anyways. So with that, I will fall on some mini stacks here. I don't know how much Cam Ward I'm going to have. I don't know how much Tyler Shuck I'm going to have. So I don't know if it's going to be the number one game stack for me. But shout out to Josh over at bestballoverlay.com. We're going to be releasing the website soon. It's going to actually dive into your portfolio, your CSV, and it's going to tell you what games you have stacked, what pieces you have stacked the most from these games. So you could also just keep track of how many times you're stacking these games and what games you're attacking, which super important to track. You said you're pretty methodical with how you do, with how you attack it, and you write down these games that you want to attack and the pieces you want from them.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like when I have there's certain things that I want in my portfolio. I was like, in some of these early drafts, I wanted a Jags double. So Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, no Trevor Lawrence. And so I built that. What's the one that I have? I got like AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts is the combo that I have on the opposite side of that. So it's not like, it's just like there's other, I just, yeah, as you said, write it down, make sure that they're in my portfolio. I like to plan.
Yeah. And I've seen that work, and especially for people that do battle royales in a sharp way, keeping track of their ownership in that way. And that's why draft tools, at the end of the day, if you have the right ones that are designed for you at whatever level you're at, it can be a very big advantage for yourself. Even if it's just a time advantage, could be worth it. So bestballoverlay.com, promo code Pounders. I appreciate you guys watching the show. Billy, I think we'll cover on that next chart at the start of the next Sunday's Adjust the Rank show. Is that cool?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know how long today was going to go, but yeah, that next one is just kind of taking the schedule and looking at how teams did, but from like a defensive perspective, but splitting out the components. So how good they were at pass defense, how good they were at rush defense, how often teams like pass the ball against them, stuff like that. So I think that'll be a fun conversation for next week.
Absolutely. To help us predict what's going to happen for this year's playoffs. Always a fun little exercise to do. But Billy, please give the promo, sir. What do you have going on this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's just more charts and graphs kind of stuff. I think now that I've got like we got the schedule, I've got all of that all automated in there. I got to actually build my projections again, and kind of pivot back to that.
Fun.
So that's the next thing for me. But I'm also going to be drafting a bunch. I'm going to try to barbell a little bit this year, and this is a window of time where I'm going to try to lean in a little bit heavier and then take a pause and have fun during the summer. We come back to it a little bit later in the season. So yeah, this is definitely like a heavier draft window for me.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Well, you guys can follow Billy over at SportsViz BJ for Billy Jones on X. The link will also be available to you in the description of the video. I appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Billy's going to be a weekly guest on the show as we adjust the ranks next Sunday. Appreciate you. Have a good day. Pounders.